Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to At Ease Radio. I am Jesse James Garrettson.
I'm Kyle Horner.
And in the studio, we have Adam Bird. Good morning.
Morning.
How's it going today?
It's going pretty good, thank you.
Good. So, how's your weekend been, Kyle?
Not too bad. Got a lot of stuff done that I've been meaning to get done.
Yeah.
Just working on little projects I got around the house. Taking care of little errands here and there. Trying to get my grandma's car to pass emissions. How fun is that?
That's really fun. How about you, Adam?
I'm doing pretty good. Just playing a little catch up for being gone for 5 days. I was in Dallas, Texas last week.
Yeah.
After you guys' show.
Did you bring Ebola back with you?
I did not. I unfortunately am Ebola free.
Oh,
good.
Yeah. So I was went out there to catch something, and I have a hard time catching a cold. So it's what do you do?
What are you gonna do? So that's awesome. Tell us about your trip.
Well, I was out there. I went out there for the American Airlines Skyball Gala. It's about a 3-day event. The first day they have the non-commissioned officer association puts on a career fair for veterans, and they did that at the Westin Dallas Fort Worth hotel, and it was a pretty big success. There's probably about 50 to 70 big companies in there that are looking to hire veterans. And then, they had some other events going on throughout the day and Friday. And then Saturday was the big gala. So it's a big black tie event.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure how many people were going to be there. If I had to guess, there was probably anywhere from 2,500 to 5,000 people. I mean, there was a whole bunch of tables. It was huge. It was at the American Airlines hangar, one of the hangars at the Dallas Fort Worth Airport, and going to meet Gary Sinise. I met probably the biggest night for me. The biggest part of the night was I met 18 of the 79 living Medal of Honor recipients.
Oh wow!
They were there in attendance, and one of them sat with us for dinner during the pre-ball thing, and it was absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Very
cool.
Very humbling experience.
Absolutely.
So they raised $2 million, just over $2 million in those 3 days. And I think I lost track of about $500,000 worth of checks that were written out for organizations and stuff like that. It was great. They had some of these wounded warriors that were paralyzed from the waist down.
Mm-hmm.
There's this new technology out there where they strap on like this backpack and they have like these
little exoskeleton.
Yeah, that's exactly what. Yeah, the exoskeleton. They had 3 of them out there.
Really?
And they brought them up on stage and they were walking, and it was. I mean, you're just like, wow. It was really, really cool to see. And then I guess just before the night kind of capped off, before the Lieutenant Dan band came on, we did a grog ceremony?
Yeah, grog bowl.
Yeah, grog bowl. How many of you
From
guys?
the elixir.
Yeah. No, so you know what it is. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit? Have you experienced one?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a traditional thing to go along with dining ins.
Yeah,
and so the way it goes is, if I can remember, it's been quite a few years, but you have like a toilet bowl that you get, and then everybody goes up and they add certain kind of booze to it throughout the night. Like you have a little ceremony. This is for these people, or this is for this, representing this. And then later on, you kind of have a way where you call people out. So, for whatever, you just kind of call somebody out for something, and then they have to go up and drink from the grog bowl.
Yeah, nice.
There was probably 15 to 20 different things that were in there. And I remember Gary Sinise came up and they said, let's try some ice cream. So they get this big thing of ice cream, but they put it in a bedpan. And he dumps the ice cream in, and then he throws the bedpan in the mix. and then somebody brought in Tang, and put Tang in, but it was, just looking at it, I got drunk looking at it. So, but it was a good time, and a lot of money was raised for
that's
the
awesome.
veteran community and our military, and it was great. I'm looking forward to. We got asked to come out there again next year, and I think next year we might even be able to broadcast live. They said so. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
quite an event. So
that's amazing. Very cool.
Thank you.
It was a fun experience.
Yeah.
How was the weather?
Beautiful. Oh, I loved it. I mean,
really?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I don't like about Texas, like I love Phoenix. And I can't believe I just said that openly on air.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. The one thing I love about Phoenix is that it's basically like it's a grid. Like you're north, south, you're east, and west, and anywhere in the valley you can look at a mountain range, know which one it is, and you know which direction you need to go. In Dallas, not so much.
Yeah.
Right.
Very flat. There's not a single mountain in the area, and there's really no terrain features to
associate with.
to look at. I mean, you kind of look down. If you see the skyline, then you're north of that. If you look down with it, you're just like, oh, shit. But even then you get confused. You're like, well, shit, where am I?
Right.
So but it's out there. It's just absolutely beautiful. Fastest growing city in the United States right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. Roughly 180 to 200 people a day moving to Dallas.
Okay. I wonder where they're all coming from.
California.
Good. They can just skip us then.
Yeah.
I like that. Nothing against people who want to come from California here, but we had a big there was a big exodus here to Phoenix. I remember years and years ago when we kind of had our third boom, I'll call it, and a lot of California residents were moving in, and it was just kind of mucking things up. But anyways,
cheaper.
Yeah, definitely cost of living.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so what's in the news?
Yeah, we can go over the news real quick. Bombing suspects, friend convicted of lying to FBI. Talking about the Boston Marathon bombing suspect, which I don't even want to pronounce his name, but apparently his buddy, Robel Philippos, 21, of Cambridge, was convicted on 2 counts of lying about being in Sarnaves, who was the guy they arrested, dorm room, and right before he went for the attack. And Philippos' lawyer says that he was a frightened 19-year-old who was intimidated by the FBI and too high on marijuana to clearly remember what he did that night. So the defense called several friends who said Philippos smoked marijuana a half dozen times a day. So Towley apparently is trying to testify to the FBI. That's their claim. He was too high.
It's too high.
It was too high, man.
It's marijuana.
That nurse who had Ebola in Dallas will be released from the hospital. So, and
was that the one that gave President Obama a big hug?
Maybe I don't
know
about that.
I don't know. There seems like
tests showed she's virus free.
Good.
So she bounced right back, no problem. Good for her.
Yeah, wonderful.
So it kind of removes, I think, a little bit of the fear of this then.
Yeah.
Because I mean, some people like in West Africa, I was talking with my neighbor about it, and he was telling me, he's like, well, some people they'll get it and they'll be fine later. They'll have a week.
Yeah.
And they'll just get over it. And he's like, and those are people living in not nearly as good conditions as we live in. So what does that tell you about the pathogen?
Yeah.
So it's really kind of something that we shouldn't be.
Then we're blowing up a little bit too much. Okay.
And it's still obviously in the news.
I think Kim Kardashian's been married more times than people have been.
Yeah.
Right.
That died from Ebola.
Died from Ebola.
Too soon?
Okay,
sorry.
I do know that what happened a little while ago, and I guess they just had the funeral for the Canadian soldier who was killed in Ottawa, which their last week was a shooting at I want to say it's their parliament that they have up in Ottawa. There was some soldiers standing guard for a monument, and some extremists, they're calling him a Muslim extremist now, came up and shot. I think he shot both of them, but one died. And then he went into the Parliament building, which is like right next door.
Okay.
And ended up getting shot by one of those, their sergeant of the guard or something, or no, their sergeant at arms. That's who it was. Ended up taking him out.
I'm wondering if this is the same group that the other guy was connected
Yeah,
to.
the guy got run down.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think that was a different part of Canada, but could be related. They specifically, I read a little bit about the story earlier. They were kind of specifically pointing out Canada's recent resolve to be with the U.S. on fighting IS, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Canada, we're NATO partners, what do I want to say? Kind of signed on to help us with taking care of IS. So they think that had something to do with it. And they're also worried about Syrian fighters. This guy, if I remember right, came from like Syria through some other country. And I guess he just didn't like Canada saying they were going to go after IS. So whatever. Ebola virus spreads to Halloween outfits. An online retailer in California is making no apologies for marketing Ebola-themed outfits for grown-ups, looking to add some shock value to their Halloween costumes.
What is an Ebola Halloween costume?
It's probably like hazmat suits or something.
Oh, yeah.
Brands on sale have so far sold hundreds of men's white Ebola contamination suit costumes, complete with face shields, breathing masks, safety goggles, and latex gloves for $80 a pop. We can barely keep them in stock, their CEO said. So, I guess making light of a non-epidemic. Let's see here. A lot of dead air here. Gonna fill us in, Jesse? Anything?
Well, what we were talking about earlier about the
We'll just jump to that because we're gonna have a break here in a little while, aren't we?
yeah.
So the big news as far as the military is concerned today is transgender military members are in precarious position is the headline. And they talk about a Captain Sage Fox had come to terms with the end of her military career when she got a stunning phone call. It was our commanding officer telling her that despite the military's ban on transgender service members, she would be welcome to return as a female, her preferred gender. So Fox, 41, a U.S. Army Reserve officer who had served in the military for 14 years, returned to her post in Sacramento as a new person. So she was a male, and then I guess either got out and had gender reassignment surgery or had it done at some point. But like it says in here now, she got permission to use a female latrine and be addressed as ma'am. So, and she's wearing, in the photo, she's wearing female ASUs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's interesting because, I mean, I know it's only fairly recently, if you consider fairly recently, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy was repealed. Transgender, I feel, is in a completely kind of different situation because it's kind of a different set of concerns. When it comes to just sexual orientation, it's kind of something that there is no real outward appearance.
Right.
You know, there's no that guy is wearing female,
Yeah.
ASUs. It's not that situation or any sort of confusion. It's something that you can, back to the reason why Don't Ask, Don't Tell was put in place. It's kind of something that it's an orientation, it's a preference. It's nothing that you have to even talk about ever. Right. So it's a little different when you're starting to deal with transgender issues because then it changes your actual identity. So that this should be interesting to see how this kind of plays out. I don't really know how I feel about it, honestly. It's just kind of weird, really, because it's obviously there have been transgendered people in the military.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can't say that there's never been anybody. Obviously, there's been. And so they more than likely have had to live just kind of living as that one sex, that one identity that they kind of have assigned to them as far as what's on the books, let's say, but then probably secretly have to live with their other identity. This kind of maybe alluding a little bit to like the Bradley Manning story, because that was kind of what he was doing. He was living his life as a female, like online, and he'd dress up and when he was off duty. And for some people, that's not enough. You know, that's them trying to hide something they don't want to hide. So it should be interesting to see how this goes down.
Yeah, it should for sure.
Because like they said, part of that repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell included transgendered individuals. So I don't know. And it's kind of funny actually, is that did you see any of the new recent South Parks?
No, I don't. Not the one with transgender. Go ahead.
They kind of did that. They delved into those issues a little bit with you haven't seen it. I am Lord. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
I am Lord.
I am Lord.
Well, the whole thing is like, so it kind of starts off with all these males want to use the female bathroom, so they just kind of claim, well, I'm transgender.
Yeah.
And so they could get into the female bathrooms, and then they have to make like a third bathroom for them specifically. And it's those considerations become difficult. That's where the difficulty in this becomes, then, I think, because it's kind of,
well, I don't know what the big deal is. I mean, so they use the other bathroom. What's the?
Well, again, you kind of have to, yeah. But it opens the door for a few things. You have to kind of imagine this from a management standpoint, I think.
Okay.
Like a leadership standpoint. Sorry,
Right.
I shouldn't really say management. I've kind of replaced that word in my my mind. So if you have, let's say, a soldier underneath you, not physically, but you're in charge of a soldier, and they tell you, well, I'm, my records show that I'm a male, but I don't really feel I'm a male. I feel I'm a female.
Right.
So then whose decision is it to say that then, like, again, this says, like in that article, that she was granted permission to go into the female latrine. Granted, this is after, I think they've, I'm sorry, I'm getting this wrong. I don't think that this individual, this Sage Fox, I don't think she had the gender reassignment surgery. I think she's still physically like a male. So that's the big news with this. I'm sorry. So in that situation, whose authority is it to say then that you can use, the female latrine?
Yeah.
I mean, and it seems like such a basic, simple thing. You know what I mean? I understand that, like, it's like, well, what's the big deal, right? But it's the perception of others. That's the thing, and the acceptance of others. So you start seeing people that look male going into the female latrine. I mean, how do you?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to see what are other people's perceptions on that.
Right.
So unless they know more about that individual, you know what I mean? And then it's kind of like, well, then what do we have to? They have to wear a special thing to identify them in that situation. I mean, you kind of have to think how the military goes about these things and about how we train and what we put into it. Let me put it this way, for instance, like when you become a heat casualty, right?
Right.
From then on, the rest of your military career, you have to wear something to identify you as a heat casualty, right?
Yeah.
At least you're supposed to,
Yeah.
right? Which, granted, most of the time just comes down to just simply asking, who here's a heat casualty? And then, and then it's like, there's no record of it.
Uh-huh.
The point is, so I'm saying that's just because there's generally people who were prior heat casualties or cold casualties could be more susceptible. So you have to keep a greater eye on them. So we've got to identify them. So you're going to wear the engineer tape around your helmet while we're out there.
Yeah.
So you could imagine what kind of the response it is to, well, they look like a male soldier, but their gender identity is female. So we're going to make him wear a pink engineer tape around his helmet. So then we know that he's allowed to go into the female latrines, And then, of course, that opens the door for fraud, too. Somebody because I've met plenty of those guys who just just to get a rise out of people,
Yeah.
purposely claim things just to
Right.
see how far they can take it.
Right.
So then how do you weed those individuals out? Because they're just going to be kids like that in the military. Well, I consider myself female gender, so they
Yeah.
could go into the female latrines and shower with the females or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could see that happening. And as much as you say, well, we're all adults and stuff, no, not all of us are adults. Sorry.
Especially in
It's a little different when you start dealing with the civilian side of things compared to that military side of things. Because the civilian side of things, generally, you don't end up having to shower with your coworkers at the end of the day.
right.
And even then, like, generally kind of accept people are more going to be adults of it. And there's more, what do I want to say, legal stances that can be taken on it than anything compared to the military. So that's why I say it's interesting, because it's kind of interesting to see what somebody's knee-jerk reaction is probably going to be to it,
Yeah.
and seeing how close-minded maybe some people get,
Yeah.
and how open-minded some people will be. So, I mean, it took a long time just for the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and to accept that there are gays in the military. Like.
Adam, do you have an opinion to weigh in on? No. Okay.
No. So we got to come up for a break here, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking about miracles.
Miracles.
Are you or someone you know looking for a new job or career? The Vets on Media family would like to invite you to the National Career Fair in Phoenix on November 17th from 11 until 2 p.m. This free job fair will be held at the Phoenix Airport Marriott Hotel, located at 1101 North 44th Street, Phoenix. This is your chance to meet some of the top employers in the Phoenix area face-to-face. Get ready to jumpstart your new career at the National Career Fair in Phoenix, November 17th from 11 until 2 p.m. at the Phoenix Marriott Hotel, 1101 North 44th Street, Phoenix. For more information, visit ncfairs.com/Phoenix. Again, that's ncfairs.com/Phoenix.
How about that bandage you got some ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. If you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs host over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face-to-face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
You're listening to Addie's Radio on the Vets on Media Network.
Welcome back to At Ease. And before the break, we were going to talk about miracles, and I wanted to first talk like define what do you think a miracle is?
Oh, geez. I guess it's something that where the least probable thing happens. I guess I could say, where somebody's put into a situation of extreme adversity, and the probably least probable best outcome thing happens.
Yeah.
So the most unlikely thing that's the most positive thing that could happen in that situation is what happened. That's how I guess I could define
That's how you would define it.
a miracle.
Adam, how would you define a miracle?
Oh, miracle. That's, that's a tough one. I guess when you're going against like all odds and you look at something and there's like not a chance at all that this would ever work out, for it could be anything.
Yeah.
And it does. It ends up working.
Yeah.
That might be a miracle. I mean, or you hear stories like somebody that is dying of I'll say cancer. Use that as a cancer, and the doctor says they have 6 months to live, and 8 months later they're cured of it or something like that. That would be a miracle.
Yeah.
So what do you define it as, Jesse?
Well, I think a miracle is something that happens. It's like a outside of your belief system. It's like something that pushes the boundaries of your beliefs.
Maybe something you just really can't explain.
Yeah, something you can't explain, or something that it was looking like he was going one way, and then all of a sudden it turned and went another way.
Mhm.
But I think also miracles are happening every day and all around us. I think
Like ICP said.
Yeah, like ICP said.
So Wikipedia says a miracle is an event not explicable by nature or scientific laws. Such an event may be attributed to a supernatural being, God or gods, a miracle worker, a saint, or a religious leader. Theologians say that with divine providence, gods regularly work through created nature, yet are free to work without, above, or against it as well. The word miracle is often used to characterize any beneficial event that is statistically unlikely, but not contrary to the laws of nature, such as surviving a natural disaster, or simply a wonderful occurrence, regardless of likelihood, such as a birth, I read that wrong, or simply a wonderful occurrence, regardless of likelihood, such as birth. Other miracles might be survival of an illness diagnosed as terminal, escaping a life-threatening situation, or beating the odds. Some coincidences may be seen as miracles. So there we go.
That's it.
And then they break it down by different religions. But
What have you ever witnessed a miracle or seen like something like that?
I mean, I get weird coincidences
Okay.
all the time.
Yeah, like what?
Just I can't even think of any. They're minor though. It's just minor coincidences
Yeah.
all the time. Just I don't know how to put it. It's like so. I don't know. Something will come up. Like I just watched a program on something, right?
Yeah.
Like a documentary, and then completely unrelated, somehow it'll come back up, and like I have the answer to the question, or it's now pertinent and important that I know I have that information that I've already garnered,
Yeah.
like the next day or a week later or something, like relatively short period of time. That's not a miracle though. That's
That's kind of
it's just weird coincidences. I don't know if I too much
not
see
actually.
it. For me, it's the attribution that becomes the sticking point in a miracle, right? By the definition they give here, a miracle isn't anything really special. I mean,
Yeah.
if we take like quantum physics into this.
Yeah.
If there is a chance of something happening, eventually it's gonna happen.
Right.
It's just on a long enough timeline, right? So weird things, coincidental things like that, it's statistically it's supposed to happen. And
Yeah.
if it doesn't happen, then you're left to assume that something's not right. But it's that attribution as to why that becomes
Why?
why was this miracle, which we'll call it that, why did it happen? Who, was there a divine authority that put the wheels in motion? Or most people, it becomes a religious thing for them when they witness a miracle, or a miracle happens to them. Then it's kind of, well, there's got to be a reason. It just can't be random chaos, right?
Yeah.
So sadly, I kind of believe more in the random chaos side of it. So I don't know if I can attribute most miracles to anything outside of, well, that's great.
It's just
kind of
happened.
It happened, and it didn't violate any laws. It's bound to happen to somebody at some time. So
Yeah, totally. So getting into the quantum physics of it, what
well, it's really statistics more than anything, probably.
Yeah. So you think it just randomly happened? How about you, Adam? What is your you ever had any miracles or anything like that happen to you?
No, nothing that I would say was actually a miracle. Do I believe that they could happen? Yeah, I believe that miracles can happen. Do I feel like anything? Well, you know what? Some people, this is going to sound kind of cliche-ish, but I consider my son to be kind of a miracle in my life.
Well, that's what they said too in here. Like the birth of a, regardless of the likelihood, such as a birth. So people get born all the time, but it's a simply wonderful occurrence, as they say. You can consider that a miracle.
I remember, all through the first 25 years of my life, I was a certain way, and I felt a certain way. And then I remember the first time I saw my son, it was like a light switch.
Your perspective on everything just changed.
Boom, and it was like it was instant.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it was almost like I did a complete 180. It was I'll never forget that feeling. Never forget the feeling. And but yeah, I think being a combat vet, I think my son's I look to my son as being like my right hand man, and as bad as this may sound to people, I think I rely on him more than or as much as he relies on on me to take care of him and stuff like that. Because I honestly think if it wasn't for him, and I've said this before, if it wasn't for me having my son, I honestly don't know if I would be here today. So in that sense of it, I consider that to be somewhat of a miracle.
Yeah.
And what do you attribute that to? I think that's where the big question comes in. Is there any attribution, or you just feel it's a wonderful occurrence?
I think it's just things happen for a reason, and whether you're whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever it is that you believe in, things happen for a reason. And I think for me, I feel like I was supposed to, by being able, somebody gave me the responsibility to take care of somebody else, because I was supposed to learn something in life, and not so much maybe, I'm the parent, so I got to teach them and stuff like that. But I think a lot of it was, I'm supposed to learn something and try to take that experience to help other people, if that makes sense. And I don't know if that necessarily answers your question, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, totally.
So every now and then, when something terrible happens to somebody, you'll hear, well, let's pray for a miracle. Or for instance, like I've had that at hospitals, the doctor will say, well, nothing short of a miracle, is going to save them, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the word is quite common use. I mean, it's nothing nothing miraculous. That the word miracle is
Mhm.
quite commonly used. Where I'm trying to go with this, I guess, is so how do you feel about that then? Praying for a miracle, because again, if it's all kind of part of a plan, then the miracle will happen
Yeah.
if you want it to or not.
Right.
So that becomes kind of. And how do you feel about that when somebody says pray for a miracle or
Yeah. I almost feel like that's pray for a miracle.
I'm sure from your sense it's kind of more like put those vibes out maybe not because
Yeah.
there's the whole willing the universe
Mhm.
concept
Yeah.
and that's basically the same thing as praying really.
Yeah.
It's just removing the theological aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, then I think, thinking of it from law of attraction and vibration, praying for a miracle. I mean, it's good, but it's also like you're praying for the lack of, like, that's kind of the vibe you're putting out. Like, I need something to happen. And like you said, miracles. So people are looking for miracles. I mean, the miracles are all around them if you choose to look at it that way.
I mean, I was kind of talking more in an austere situation,
Uh-huh.
something where you have a life-threatening diagnosis of some sort
Yeah.
and there's nothing you can do about it and there's nothing medical science can do about it, so nothing short of a miracle will
Yeah.
fix you.
Yeah.
So in those situations it's a little different. Are you saying then just deal with it or
Oh yeah. No, I think that praying for a miracle is awesome, and like looking for it, and I think that finding joy in the journey of it and finding and I'm not, I don't want to say joy because I know it's like a life-threatening disease is it's not like somebody, you don't want to hear somebody saying, oh well, just find the joy in it. And
Ebola?
yeah, right. Oh, you got Ebola, to find the joy in it. But
You're part of a very exclusive club
oh,
now.
very exclusive. But I think that that it shows you like when you find out what you don't want, and you're able to then see what you do, and so and then like focusing on what you do want, focusing on getting to where you are, not staying stuck in where you are. And I think that is a miracle when
So
people
let's
are
say
able to find the
Sorry.
joy even in hard situations.
So let's say then that the miracle doesn't happen. Somebody succumbs to their illness and dies. Then are we supposed to kind of look back and say then, well, then that's all part of the plan, I guess. That's fate. That there wasn't supposed to be a miracle for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it, and also I think that any life is a miracle. I mean, the fact that we're here at all is a miracle, and there's something valuable in that person's life and their thing. And for me, I think that they're still around, or their consciousness is still around. So there's
because I mean, and I don't want to sound like a dick saying it, but
too late. I'm just kidding.
Because I specifically kind of mentioned back on when you're in a hospital, for instance, and the doctor gives you a diagnosis of, a loved one or something, and they say, well, nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah.
The problem is it's kind of like in the movie Dumb and Dumber when he's like, well, what's the chance of a guy like you and a girl like me getting together?
Yeah.
Well, like 1 in a million. And he goes, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how that comes off to me because, the common conception of a miracle is that it really is something that's, I'm not saying that the person, the doctor who says that is wrong. They're not really. They're saying, well, the short of something that we can't explain, that happens, then it's bad. But if you are on the hopeful side of that, you have a loved one who's going through something terrible like that, of whatever it may be, and then you get told there is a chance, then it suddenly kind of, I think that changes your outlook on a situation because they're saying, well, the doctor said a miracle could happen and they'll survive. And so
Yeah.
you kind of latch onto that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, a miracle could still happen.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's kind of like you're on a sinking ship and, well,
Yeah.
it could still stay afloat. We could still make it, and it can, I think, kind of distort priorities, maybe could
Right.
distort the way somebody should be dealing with the situation.
Right.
And so
And
in that sense, when people kind of talk about miracles, if miracles did happen all the time, like we're saying, which in a way they do,
yeah.
but if you kind of look at that, like, if every single person who got brain cancer all had a miracle and survived, it wouldn't be miraculous anymore now, would
Right.
it?
Right.
So I know that's kind of a weird way to look at it. I'm just saying, like, miracles, if they happen, we should just be glad they did. We shouldn't. I don't know. There's a weird feeling, I think, about wishing for one.
Yeah.
And like,
I hear
because
you.
you half expect it then at that point.
Right. Or
It's like gambling.
You get into the feeling of not having a miracle and not feeling like, you know what I mean? Like,
Never gonna happen.
like,
Yeah.
like when you're all constantly wishing for a miracle, then that means that where you are is not where you want to be, and that's not a good feeling. So it's taking you out of the moment. It's taking you out of
You're putting your issues out on a
yeah.
on a higher power, so to speak, and so you're removing your responsibility from the situation.
Right. Right. Where the miracle for me would be somebody coming into the moment and, like accepting where they are in the
Yeah.
now, accepting where, and then,
Instead of looking forward to it.
right. And then, I mean, looking forward and knowing that it's going to come, but also being accepting of where they are and, knowing, that every moment is a miracle and that, that's to me
What's the real miracle there? I mean, if you're in a situation like that, the real miracle was that, well, I got to spend time with this person or something, right?
yeah.
So
Right.
is that kind of the outlook that you're trying to say?
That's what I would say.
should be
The
taking.
real miracle would be just coming.
Someone's
into the moment.
dying and they say it's nothing short of a miracle is going to save them. Well, the real miracle is that I knew them, and
Yeah. And that I got whatever, lessons I got from them and then I got to spend whatever time I got
Well,
to spend with them. And then, and then really it's up to them. I mean, as far as how they want to like move forward and,
where do they progress from
Right.
there?
right. Do they believe in merit?
All right. Well, I think we've got a break here, and when we come back, I will continue the discussion on this.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from VetSong. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vet's on soon.
The choice of a lawyer and important decisions should not be based solely upon advertising.
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. If you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Do you need an extra push to start your day? Well, then tune in to Addie's Radio. Addie's Radio is a show that explores tough questions in an open and fun forum. The program also engages hard-hitting issues concerning veterans' physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. The show airs every Tuesday from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Vets On Media Network. Addie's Radio is hosted by Jesse James, a combat veteran of Afghanistan, so he knows the problems that veterans face every day. Jesse provides you guidance each and every week to be a better you. So tune into yourself each week by tuning into Addie's Radio. Go to vetsonmedia.com for show details.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs hosts over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face to face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
You're listening to Addie's Radio on the Vets On Media Network.
All right, welcome back, Addies.
So we were last before the break talking about miracles, and I started asking some tough questions to Jesse about maybe kind of searching for a better definition of how you feel
Yeah.
about it. Maybe we should kind of change tacks and start talking about just kind of like you were mentioning about, miracles that happen every day, and how can you kind of stay cognizant of those things and keep yourself oriented in a way that you have that outlook. That was another tough question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think what I was trying to get at is like you can look and find those things in your life, and you can sit there and say that you can obviously look at all the positive things in your life all the time, but you can specifically from the miraculous standpoint, you can kind of say, well, it's kind of a miracle that I made it through high school or something, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of look at it that way, that, well, things went a little better. They went better than I expected, what are some things or ways that you could do that, you think?
To live a miraculous life and to do it, I think that it's again, it's about acceptance of what is, acceptance of where you are, acceptance of the moment, acceptance of your choices. And I think a lot of it is learning who you are, and learning what makes you feel good and what makes you not feel good, and not just kind of leaning towards the things that feel good. Obviously, if you're in a space that that you're not feeling, like you just got diagnosed with a terminal, it's not like, oh, just feel good and focus on the positive. But there's things that ways to monitor your thoughts, and just things to focus on that can make you feel better. And I think that in finding things that make you feel better, then you kind of get into that habit of looking for things that make you feel good, and then things just start lining up more in your life. Law of attraction brings that stuff into your life.
So I did find this Reader's Digest thing on amazing miracles in real life. So this is what people wrote in, saying that they asking for miracles in their life. And so this person said, the sunrise my father and I watched standing atop of one of the Smoky Mountains. So that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then this lady says, our son fell 40 feet off his barn roof onto cement and didn't break any bones.
Wow.
So all the factors that came together to help me find the daughter I'd given up for adoption. So, okay. In that way, you kind of think about when you want something to happen, you know, you have a big will for it to happen, and things kind of go smoothly, and all of a sudden things just kind of start working out, and it ends up happening. I guess you could call that a miracle.
Yeah.
A bumblebee flying, says Karen Inverness of Florida. My husband getting out of the Pentagon on 9/11.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty big. The way my mother always knew I was coming home, even when I tried to surprise her, she would always have that extra baked potato in the oven. And that's from somebody from Idaho. Imagine that.
Wow.
Baked potato.
I used to live in Idaho. It's good.
So I don't know if I'd call that one a miracle, that her mom always had
An extra baked potato.
a potato in her oven. It's just kind of preparedness, I guess. Losing my wife and business and surviving bankruptcy all at once without dying of stress. It's pretty it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
During a serious kidney stone attack at age 37, which I'm sorry, reading that sentence was kind of like these kidney stones came out of an alley with knives. And
Yeah.
I
Those
went,
are bad kidney stones.
this is terrible. I went into a coma and saw a light at the end of the tunnel. I regained consciousness and lived. I am now 88 years old. So, understanding how and why my grandfather acted like he did now that I have grandchildren of my own. Some would say that my actually getting married was a miracle. This is Don Sherman. The Grand Canyon.
That's a miracle.
I survived
Nice.
flying into a thunderstorm in a small airplane. It required more than my piloting skills. I was being watched over. And then this lady in Tennessee says the births of my children and grandchildren. And then this person says the days are filled with miracles. A flower blooming, my heart beating, the purr of a cat, the internet. So, I don't know if I'd call the internet a miracle.
It is kind of a miracle.
Well,
I mean, think about it.
I can show you some websites, then you
Look
might
at-
change your mind.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. I feel that someone turning his life around for the better is a miracle. That is a good one. Love for the unlovable. Forgiveness. Our son died of a brain tumor at 17. On the second anniversary of his death, I was driving to work. A double rainbow appeared in the clear sky. On one end of the one end was on the road in front of us, and the other at the cemetery where he was buried.
Wow.
Microwave ovens, color TV, finding someone who actually loves me for who I am. And then there's more. I'm just reading other people's garbage here.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I'll give you an example. We talked about, I kind of pulled from my own experience, and I mentioned, going to the hospital, and I was in a situation where somebody's, I don't want to put any of their personal information out there, but their child was dying, right?
Yeah.
And the doctor, that's what the doctor said, and that's why I kind of picked that apart, because I remember that pretty clearly, was him saying, look, there's, him telling my friend, nothing short of a miracle is going to save your son.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he said. The child had become brain dead was
Oh,
the whole
wow.
point. So he's like, there's nothing short of a miracle that's going to save your son. And so it was kind of, they were of the mind where they weren't now expecting a miracle. They pretty much knew, if something crazy happens, then great.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they started their preparations.
Yeah.
And that was what they should have done, I feel. So that was appropriate. Anyways, after the child died, they donated organs. So, and they said, I guess they still are. They were getting letters from other people's or other parents thanking them.
Uh-huh.
Like, for instance, like a week later, they got a letter in from some lady whose granddaughter had received their son's heart
Oh, wow.
and, saved the kid's life.
Yeah.
And so they were looking at that as, well, that's the miracle here.
Right.
It's not that our son died, but that was able to save some other people or other kids' lives.
Yeah.
So it was a sacrifice for them, but ultimately, you know, as with any sacrifice, it's beneficial
Right.
to other people. So
That's beautiful.
through his death, yeah, he was able to save the lives of some other kids. So, you know, that's a legacy for them, they feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And-
then and I think that is miraculous in so many ways. I mean,
and well, you have to imagine too. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
oh no,
I want to say if you were the recipient of that organ,
yeah,
you know what I mean? If you were the parent of that other child, you know, and I have a feeling, you know, that for them the stars did align.
yeah,
You know, yes, my friend had to lose his child, but for that other family, that may have been the perfect miraculous thing that happened to them.
right,
Was that, oh my gosh, you know, this is, you know, she couldn't go another day, and that heart came in right now.
yeah,
So I don't know. I don't know the whole story behind half of those, but you know, for them, I'm sure it's a miracle.
yeah,
And so it was one person losing their life, but then many miracles were spread out from that, we can
God.
say. So
yeah. And then just the miraculousness.
there were other positive
life.
things. It was sad. A tragedy occurred, but there were other positive things too that happened that
Yeah.
are, I mean, I don't want to get into their personal information at all. So,
Right.
but there were other things that were positive in nature that happened. So, in a way, you can take from a tragedy a positive, and that's kind of where I was trying to head with this, because we're supposed to be talking about how to enhance somebody's lives, right?
Hmm.
So you have to look at it, it's a perspective on miracles, I guess, was what we've been talking about. And how do you change your perspective? Well, even when something bad happens and there wasn't any miracle to save it, you can look back and there may be a miracle in that tragedy.
Yeah.
So
Very beautiful.
I'm sorry, but you had some stuff to say, so please say.
Well, we are actually coming up on the ending of the show, but I do want to just say that, you know, miracles are everywhere when we let ourselves start to see them, and when we, you know, just feeling, just emotions, and if you're in a place that you really feel like you need a miracle, you know, then pray, and
If that's what you do.
that's what you do, or feel better.
Well, focus on when you kind of bring that up too. I think a big part for me at some point in my life was kind of realizing that I am in control of my emotions.
Yeah,
So as long as you know that, you know, you can be good in most situations.
absolutely. Join us next week, Tuesday, 10, and we will see you then.
Yeah. And
All right,
until then, at ease.
at ease.